Hi everyone, we are Johnny and Roberta from Synchronicitycenter for Modern Mindfulness and Awakening, and would like to welcome you to episode 7 of Introduction to Practical Buddhism and Mindfulness Meditation. This series is intended to give you an easy to understand overview of core Buddhist philosophy and provide you with simple tools to apply it to daily modern life.
So for today, we are going to take a slight break from our exploration of the Noble Eightfold Path and begin to introduce you to what meditation is all about and how to begin a practice of your own. Now, this is a great juncture in the series to begin to start to incorporate mindfulness and meditation into your daily life. It is entirely necessary for putting into practice all of the wisdom and knowledge that we've been presenting to you since our very first episode, as well as what you will be learning in the future. Many of these concepts must be experienced for you to truly grasp a deep understanding of them. And this is done through meditation.
As a reminder, please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and if you are at all able to support the work we are doing with Synchronicity Center, as we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, please consider making a small donation to our website, synchronicitycenter.org. So let's get started.
Alrighty then. As we began talking about in previous episodes, our minds are really good at inventing stories and assigning meaning to everything that we encounter and every situation that occurs on an ongoing basis, all the time. These are stories that we habitually create about everyone and everything that enters our perception.
Many times we are not even aware that our minds are doing this. We just go through our days automatically labeling people and things as a certain way, based on their behaviors or even just how they look.
Like the example we used before, the person driving the car that wildly cuts you off and you create the story that he's a jerk.
Or it could be that you thought your best friend was giving you a dirty look, or spoke shortly with you after your lunch together. So your mind starts racing and you create a story that she must be upset with you about something you said.
Or it could be that your boyfriend or husband didn't say, "I love you," before hanging up the phone. And oh no, this must mean that he must not love you anymore, or he must be preparing to divorce you in the next week, or on and on and on.
Now, the problem isn't that our minds are constantly engaged in this process. The problem is that these stories of our own creation are not based on any truth, but only on our perceptions. These stories can haunt us like the plague and become one of the biggest causes of anger, stress, anxiety, and depression in our lives. And it is many times all of our own making, our own imagination.
So the key is slowing down our minds and creating those mindful spaces or gaps between the stimuli and our reactions. This mindful pause is what allows us to choose more skillful ways to respond, as well as observe and let each situation just be what it is, without attaching any meaning to it.
And this can all be achieved through the diligent practice of meditation. Meditation is the practice of having an open awareness and beginning to experientially see the truth of reality and the truth of the self.
So meditation has been around for thousands of years in numerous forms, practiced in many different ways in various parts of the world. It can be considered a very powerful yet simple tool that can help allow the practitioner to cultivate stable awareness and a peaceful mind state.
The practice allows one to remain grounded in the present moment, which helps to alleviate us from the all-pervasive suffering caused by incessant thoughts of the past or future. And with consistent practice, the benefits will flow over to your daily life off the cushion.
So the practice of meditation has an unbelievable, almost endless amount of benefits. Studies have shown that it can cause an increase in our emotional intelligence, anger management, and just overall control of our emotions, while at the same time providing the benefits of relaxation, better sleep quality, and a reduction in symptoms of anxiety, stress, and other depressive disorders.
And this has all actually been scientifically proven. The science of neurology has proven that the practice of mindfulness and meditation can actually change the structure and function of the brain. This is achieved through a natural process in the brain known as neuroplasticity. There is actual scientific proof that this all works.
And as we mentioned, it is actually quite a simple technique. But despite its simplicity, it certainly does not mean that it is easy.
You are literally training your brain and exercising the muscles of your mind, building new neuronal networks and rewiring your brain. Even though you will find immediate benefit from your first meditation and onward, the lasting and more permanent benefits come from continuing that exercise.
And it's just like you don't get a six-pack of abs overnight from doing just one session of abdominal crunches. So the key, just like any other exercise routine, is to develop a consistent daily practice. It is much better to start small and work your way up slowly. Meditating just 5 to 10 minutes a day initially would provide you with much more benefit than just sitting for 30 minutes 2 times a month.
And we really want to reiterate and stress. Through meditation, you can experience relaxation, bliss, euphoric states, feelings of peace, love, happiness, joy, contentment, a sense of floating on air, better sleep quality, and the release of stress and anxiety, just to name a few positive effects. And you can experience all of this absolutely free, anytime, anywhere.
I can't think of any other medication or treatment that has those same benefits. And the thing is, all of those positive effects with absolutely no negative side effects or repercussions. No headache, no hangover, no draining your wallet at the bar or liquor store, no feelings of regret or guilt, just to name a few of the negative side effects that come from other unhealthy coping mechanisms that we may have used in the past or even currently.
And you get to experience the feeling of satisfaction, knowing that you are doing something for you. And guess what? In turn, that happier, more peaceful and content you will begin to have a snowball effect on those all around you.
So let's begin to talk about how we actually meditate. We'll provide you with a beginner's roadmap, so to speak, kind of breaking down what you are actually supposed to be doing while you are sitting on the chair or cushion. And then we will go over ideal sitting positions and proper posture, as well as some tips on how to begin a successful meditation practice and how to stick with it.
So many people may have the misconception that when you sit and meditate, you are zoning out, or going into a trance-like state, or escaping the body and mind in some way. But no, not at all. Though certain variations of meditation may come closer to that, with mindfulness meditation, it is actually quite the opposite.
Rather than tuning out, you are actually tuning in. The entire practice is about heightening your awareness and developing concentration and focus so keen that you can detect and pick up on nuances of the body, mind, and your surroundings that you may have never even noticed before. And you will do this while developing stable concentration on a meditation object. In many cases, this will be the sensations of your breath.
We focus on the breath because it is something constant and autonomic. You don't have to think about it. It is always with you. And while you are developing concentration on your breath, the goal is to try to prevent yourself from engaging or being carried away by the thoughts, sensations, feelings, or environmental stimuli that will inevitably enter your perception.
You will learn to redirect yourself back to the breath anytime a distraction enters your awareness, and remain entirely and completely in the present moment. It is after establishing a solid concentration practice, also known as samadhi, that you will be able to move on to higher levels of analytical or insight practice, which is also known as vipassana.
But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's first get you to a place where you can simply learn how to sit and begin to watch the breath.
Okay. So the very first thing we do when we begin a meditation is to calm the body and mind. Now, it may be helpful to think of your mind as being a lot like the ocean on a windy or stormy day. The water is being constantly tossed about by incessant crashes of big waves and tumultuous currents. This process stirs up all of the sand, small rocks and shells and seaweed and other sediment, causing the water to be cloudy and murky with the constant motion and agitation.
But as the storm passes and the wind dies down, the waves begin to slow down as well, and eventually become still or barely detectable, causing a flat calm. Then, when the wind is completely still, it causes an eventual dead calm, where there is no motion, not even a detectable ripple in the water, allowing the sand, the rocks, the shells, the seaweed, and other sediment to slowly settle to the ocean's bottom, revealing crystal clear water where you can just about look straight down and see your toes in the sand.
So think of this in relation to your mind. In order to have a clear and open mind, you must first learn to calm the body and still the mind, in order for it to settle down and become clear. It is only at that moment, with this new clarity, that you have the opportunity to examine the mind and gain insight into the true nature of reality. Therefore, the first part of meditation is all about mindfully relaxing and stilling your body and calming your mind. And we do this by learning how to develop a single-pointed concentration on our breathing.
It is this simple practice, done diligently and consistently, that is beginning the process of literally rewiring your brain. As this rewiring begins to take place, you will find that consistent meditation practice is what helps for us to alter our perception and habitual reactions to events that we encounter on a day-to-day basis. The way the rewiring begins is by shifting our mind states from thinking about everything that enters our awareness, and rather simply acknowledging and observing these things without labeling, attachment, creating stories, or assigning meaning.
It is in this process that we can train our brains to create that mindful pause, that space or gap between the stimulus we experience and our ultimate response. Remember that most of us are always engaged and habitually reacting to each and every stimulus without even having time to make a decision as to how we want to react. For example, the stimulus of that driver that we only know too well now that cuts us off, or the stimulus of that someone giving you a dirty look.
Therefore, the mindful pause, the gap or space that we learn to create, is our ticket to liberation from habitual reactions. It is in that place where we allow ourselves the freedom to choose more skillful actions or responses.
This is the part of meditation where we practice observing our thoughts, feelings, sensations, and emotions. Throughout meditation, we focus on shifting from thinking about or judging these things that arise and just observing and watching them for what they are, and then letting them go.
We start practicing by first observing our physical senses. The best way to do this is by scanning our body from head to toe and observing our physical senses as we move down through each area of your body. We do this with our awareness. As you move through, you can make mental notes as to how your head feels, if there is any tension around your eyes and forehead. You can note what your ears are hearing, your nose smelling, the feeling of your breath moving through your body.
And then progressively moving down further through your shoulders, arms, all the way into your fingers, and then back up again and down into your neck through each vertebrae of your spine and the muscles of your back, noting the feelings and sensations as you move through, such as any tension or tightness. And as you observe, you allow yourself to consciously release and relax whatever you find in each part. And then do the same down each leg, and then all the way down through your feet and into your toes.
It can also be a helpful way to ground yourself by invoking the sensation of total body awareness. It is at that point that you can then return to cultivating your concentration by reestablishing your connection and focus on directly noticing the sensations of your breath.
Now, at some point, thoughts and distractions will most certainly arise, and give the mind an opportunity to take you away from your task of focusing on your breathing. The way to deal with this is to just allow the thoughts to come. Allow them to be what they are without engaging or thinking about them. Just observe them and then let them go.
And when you do come to the realization that you have been distracted, the last thing in the world to do is be frustrated or be hard on yourself. The very fact that you became aware that you were not being aware of the breath is still a form of awareness, and this is a good thing.
Yes.
Just smile to yourself and feel good about this accomplishment. Then victoriously return your attention to the breath.
It's this process that creates positive reinforcement and will encourage your mind to do it on its own and more often in future meditations, rather than discouraging yourself from becoming aware by creating a negative feedback mechanism that's reinforced by feelings of frustration or disappointment in yourself. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. The whole process of observing your thoughts is similar to watching clouds pass by in the sky. There is no such thing as a wrong or misshapen cloud, just as there are no such things as right or wrong thoughts. They are just what they are. Allow them to arise, allow them to be, then allow them to go without judgment.
And if a particular emotion arises, you treat it the same way that you would treat the thoughts. Allow the emotion to arise. Allow it to be. Observe it, watch it, and then allow it to dissipate. And interestingly, notice that if you are feeling an emotion such as anger or fear, you are not actually angry or fearful. You are just the experiencer of that emotion. And as you are observing the emotion, you are able to see it as separate from yourself. You can think of it as in, the me is experiencing anger or fearfulness, but I am not anger or fear.
So, what you will come to find, the more that you practice observing your senses, thoughts, and emotions, is that firstly, they, along with everything else, are all impermanent, as they are always flowing and changing, coming and going, arising and passing. They arise into your consciousness, they linger for a bit, and then they eventually dissipate. And secondly, you will come to experience that they are also interdependent. And if you recall from our episode on these concepts, that means that they have causes and conditions not under your direct control.
A great example of this would be that if you smell delicious food cooking, it may cause you to think of food or experience the feeling of hunger. Or if you sit with your legs crossed in a certain way for so long, your legs may begin to feel numb. And each of those causes and conditions have their own causes, and on it goes infinitely. Essentially, it is a way to see, feel, and experience the ultimate interconnectedness of us and all things, including our thoughts and emotions.
So after you've been meditating for some time and gotten better at establishing a solid single pointed concentration on the breath with very little to no distraction, and are doing well with just observing your senses, thoughts, and emotions, and seeing the true nature of impermanence and interdependence of yourself and all things, you can move on to taking on a more analytical or contemplative aspect of your meditation.
You can begin to ask yourself questions that will help you to analyze the consequences of these realizations, such as in relation to impermanence. When you have experienced that your senses, thoughts, and emotions, like all things, are impermanent, what about this sense of self that you have? You can ask yourself, what is the self?
You can then proceed to perform a self-inquiry. You do this by continuing on with asking yourself questions such as, who am I? What am I? You may further explore in a way such as, if I am able to see and watch my thoughts, well, then I am obviously not my thoughts. And if I can be aware of and watch my emotions, well, then I am also not my emotions. So then, what am I?
Am I just the watcher of my thoughts and emotions? But wait, if I can watch that I am watching my thoughts, am I more like the watcher of my thoughts?
Well, as a mythological Hindu metaphor describing this paradox goes, it's turtles all the way down. This kind of self-inquiry can be truly awakening and allow yourself a deeper glimpse into oneness, the nature of reality, and the nature of self as empty and impermanent. But that's a topic for a later episode.
Definitely. It may also surely be one way of taking a deep, deep dive down into that rabbit hole.
All joking aside, a daily, consistent, and diligent practice of sitting in meditation can truly help you to gain an experiential understanding of your true nature and the nature of reality.
We can actually begin to experience that the sense of self that we all know so well and identify with as who we are is actually the same as everything else, completely impermanent and interdependent with all things.
Throughout the practice of meditation, some of the greatest benefits you will achieve are when you begin to grasp these experiential understandings. When you can have a deep, honest understanding of the causes and conditions behind the senses, thoughts, emotions, and whatever else you are experiencing, as well as the true nature of your sense of self, you will have the ability to naturally feel more at peace. And you will ultimately be liberated from the habitual reactive traps that you once upon a time fell into.
And this liberation comes not from eliminating or ridding yourself of your senses, thoughts, and emotions. No, they will always be out there, and they will always arrive at your door time and time again. It is inevitable that you will experience any range of these emotions that can lead to suffering.
But with the embodiment of your new understanding, you will recognize any emotion or feeling, welcome it, and by seeing the impermanence of it, allow it to be, and allow it to pass. You can act skillfully and choose not to habitually react to it, and avoid causing yourself to be shot by those second, third, and fourth arrows of pervasive suffering.
Absolutely. This is probably one of the best ways to describe the practice of being mindful, being awakened and aware, essentially free from habitual reactivity. And it can absolutely be achieved through this practice.
So now that we've discussed some of the benefits in science and went over a basic beginner's roadmap of the practice and the goals of mindfulness meditation, let's briefly talk about tips on beginning and sticking with our own practice, as well as some instruction on different postures.
So you'll want to set aside some time each day. I'd say 10 to 20 minutes should be more than sufficient to start for a beginner. The idea will be to get you into the habit of meditating regularly. That's what's going to get you to stick with it.
Now, you can meditate anywhere, but preferably in a quiet, safe place, free from interruptions, and ideally about the same time each day. Early in the morning when you first wake up, before you start your day, is a great time and can really help to set your intention to be mindful throughout your day. But if that doesn't work, it's okay to be at another time, in the evening before bed, perhaps.
And some people even meditate on their lunch breaks in their car or in their break room. Yeah. Just as an example. But you'll want to either sit upright in a chair or on a meditation cushion or even a pillow. Now, there are special meditation cushions called zafus and zabutons, and also special benches that can help assist you with maintaining proper posture. But if you have bad knees, for example, don't try to sit cross-legged or in full lotus position.
I can't. And we don't recommend laying down or even reclining too comfortably in a chair.
Yeah, like all the way back here. Yeah.
As these positions can be too comfortable and you'll just end up falling asleep. The key is to find the middle way between uncomfortable, which can lead to pain, and too comfortable, which will lead to nappy time.
And regarding your posture, no matter how you sit, you would like to sit straight with an erect spine, one vertebrae stacked upon another. You can use some low back or lumbar support, but don't support your shoulders or your upper back. Your shoulders should just kind of be relaxed and hang down along your sides, and you may place your hands gently one on top of the other, or they can even be flat on your knees or thighs. Now, it's not necessary to maintain any uncomfortable hand mudras or positions during the meditation, unless you really want to.
Now, typically you'll want your eyes closed or slightly open. Cast approximately at 45-degree angle about 3 feet in front of you, and your tongue resting gently at the roof of your mouth just behind your upper teeth seems to be a comfortable place for most.
And you'll also want to have a timer close by. Now, if you have a smartphone, as most of us do these days, there are a multitude of free meditation apps that you can download and will serve that purpose, as well as help with tracking your meditation progress.
Now, we have several guided meditations that go along with a lot of the concepts we teach throughout this series that we've actually recorded and enhanced with some meditative music, and they're all available for free on the free meditation app Insight Timer. You can just look up our individual names as teachers and it will show our recorded meditations. And we will also be converting some of those tracks into a YouTube format and posting them here as well for you to listen to if you'd like.
And we'll probably put those links in the description of this video as well, just to make it easier for you to find. And just a word on guided meditations. Guided meditations can be particularly helpful to a novice meditator to help guide you through the steps of the meditation. With lots of practice, a student will eventually be able to sit silently for long periods of time, successfully on their own. Though it can still be helpful to do a themed guided meditation if you are struggling with a particular aspect in your life or practice.
Either way, if you don't want to use an app, any other kind of timer should suffice. And we always recommend that you keep a journal of your meditations. That way you can mark down your progress and anything particularly you note about your experiences or questions or insights that may arise during your sit.
So the most common problem that you will find as a beginner is the ability to just sit still. Now the goal is to be able to sit without moving for the time that you are meditating. However, this is typically the biggest challenge initially. So the key is to try to wait as long as possible before changing position.
And if you do decide it's necessary to move and alter your position, do so slowly and mindfully to your next planned position. If you just move each time you feel some discomfort, you'll just end up fidgeting during the whole time and not actually meditating. Remember, you are training your body and your mind in developing muscle memory. Eventually, you will get to the point where you will be able to sit for very long periods of time without moving at all.
Exactly. Another common problem will be mind wandering. And this is very natural and very normal. Rather than focusing on the breath and your meditation, your mind will begin wandering off and thinking things and thoughts about the past, the future, what you're having for lunch, making grocery lists, etc.
We discussed this a bit just before, but as a reminder, the key here is to once again notice when your mind has begun thinking and redirect it back to your meditation object. Some people find it helpful to count breath cycles to help maintain focus, but we'll get into those techniques further on in the series.
For now, just try to get in the habit of sitting each day and allowing that time for you. Allow yourself that time to meditate and begin practicing mindfulness. And in the future, after you have mastered the skill of one-pointed concentration and mindfulness, you'll be ready to learn how to deepen your concentration and attain states of mind only available to adept meditators. States of mind that provide the deepest relaxation, joy, happiness, and the most profound insights into reality. It's good stuff.
So that about wraps up this intro to meditation practice. You should now have a good understanding of some of the science and benefits behind meditating, as well as an understanding of the basics of what you're supposed to be doing on the cushion. You also have some tips for how to begin your own practice and stick with it. And we also gave you examples of some different postures to experiment with.
So we hope everyone interested sets a goal for themselves to start meditating at least 10 to 20 minutes a day for the next week. And as each week goes by, add some more time incrementally. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions in the comments or through the contact information on our website or Facebook page. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description to our Insight Timer meditations. We recommend you start with the beginner's guided breath practice or the beginner's practice sitting in stillness, as well as the deep body scan.
And for our next episode, we will move on to the next training area of the Eightfold Path, ethical conduct or morality, where we will discuss right speech, right action, and right livelihood. As always, we hope you learned something new or even a slightly different perspective to something you may have already known. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and check out our website at synchronicitycenter.org. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to keep up to date with all of the exciting things that we are up to.
Yeah. And while you're there, if it is at all within your means, please feel free to contribute a small tax-deductible donation via PayPal or our Facebook donate buttons, as it will truly help for us to produce more content like this in the future with better quality and support all of the other work that we are doing. But for today, as always, we will leave you with our wishes for loving kindness or metta. May you all be happy. May you all be well. May you all be safe and free from suffering this day and every day.
Thank you.